Hi! So today we are talking all about my new prickly friend. If you're thinking this is a real cacti, it's not. It's actually a fake cacti that I made using pool noodles. Yay! Okay, so before we jump in, I'm gonna be completely honest with you. This DIY was a lot harder than I thought it would be because I kind of went in blind. I had no instructions. I was just making things up as I went. But I think it's gonna be a lot easier if I was to redo it because I have all the steps. Just to give you a heads up, there is a lot of drying times in between each step. This one took me about 7 days to make. It is big, so if I get up, it's about this big for me, and I'm 5'4", so it's pretty big. If you're doing a smaller one, it might be a lot quicker. Also, how many of you guys have a real cacti this size, like a house plant? And how do you keep it alive? Comment down below, let me know, because I was thinking to get a real one, but then I'm like, man, I'll probably kill it because I tend to kill my succulents. They just kind of turn black and die on me. Isn't really a good sign. Anyways, let's jump right into this tutorial.
Okay, then for the full list of supplies, visit the link below. To make my cacti, I used 2 different sizes of pool noodles. I got my pool noodles at Walmart. To begin, I used tape to measure out where I wanted my dowels to sit. This also kind of worked as a support for the dowels. Before securing my dowels with foam, I installed the pool noodles onto the dowels just to see where I wanted my cactus to sit. Then I removed the pool noodles and used my level to see if the dowels were sitting straight. Following that, I read the instructions on the foam can and filled the pot with foam. Don't fill your pot up all the way, it will expand as it dries. I filled mine up a little bit too much. I also made a few oblong shapes on saran wrap to use as cactus arms. Then I let the foam set overnight and I removed the tape in the morning.
It's super sticky, so make sure whatever area you're working in, make sure it's covered, because it got on my floor and it stuck like crazy.
Since my foam expanded a bit more than I was expecting, I had to shave it off with a knife to flatten out the surface a little bit. My pool noodles weren't really a tight fit on the dolls, so I needed to somehow secure them. Okay, so this next step was a bit of a fail. The idea was to apply foam onto the dowel and insert the pool noodle, leaving the foam inside the pool noodle to expand and secure it. Yeah, the pool noodle decided to take over the dowel and squished all the foam to the bottom. I didn't even bother to clean it up since it's so messy while it's wet. I decided to just let it dry and cut it off. I added foam inside the pool noodle from the top as much as I could and left a blob of foam on top to get that round top a cactus has. And once again, I left all this to set overnight. Once it was dry, I used a knife to round off the top and started marking my cactus shape. I simply used a Sharpie and marked lines about an inch apart from the top to the bottom. These lines don't have to be perfectly straight. In fact, your cacti will have more character if they're not. Following that, to start shaping out my cactus, I used my utility knife and cut strips out of the cactus. Please be careful doing this. You need to slightly turn your knife in while making each cut. The foam should come right out if cut correctly. It's kind of like cutting triangle-shaped strips out. This doesn't have to be really neat because the plaster will cover most of it. As long as you don't have huge random chunks of foam sticking out, you're good. Here's what it looks like from the top. Oh, and you'll also need to do the same cuts in your little cactus arms. Okay, to make the cactus have a smoother texture, I decided to plaster it. Mix small amounts of plaster and work fast. This stuff has about a 7-minute work time. As much as I've worked with it, that's what I've noticed. Then it starts to get hard. If you're working with plaster for the very first time, be very careful. Use only cold water to mix it and old dishes you don't need. Once it dries, it does not come off. Do not rinse this in your kitchen sink or anywhere inside your house. You don't want it stuck in your pipes. Safest place to rinse is probably outside. I ended up giving my cactus 2 coats of plaster to eliminate the foam texture. Following that, I let it set overnight before sanding the next morning. Don't worry about sanding it too much. As long as you don't have big clumps and bumps, you're fine. Okay, at this point, I pulled the cactus outside to paint since it's a pretty messy process. I started off by giving it a solid coat of my darkest green. Visit the link below for the colors I used. I'll go ahead and add it.
So I ended up bringing it back inside because it is windy and weird outside. Now that we have our solid color on, I'm going to be adding lighter color on the tips and then leave it dark on the inside so it has more contrast. And then we'll see if you can do a little bit of pricklies, or I guess fuzzies, because that's kind of what I'm going for. I don't want it to be prickly.
I was a bit worried my lighter green was too light, but once dried, it blended nicely. I used water to help fade out the lighter green. Here's what it looked like with both green colors on. Following that, to add my prickles, I used a brush and cut it into little pieces. Then I used a Mod Podge and dotted it onto my cactus about 1 inch apart. Then I just stuck the prickles onto the Mod Podge and let it dry. This was actually pretty easy. I think I was overthinking this part in the beginning. Once my prickles were dry, I used some hot glue to attach my cactus arms, and that's pretty much it.
I hope you enjoyed this DIY and found it helpful. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on that little notification bell. I think that's it for today, everyone. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.